All right. Episode 1, Season 1, inaugural episode of Agents of Change. I'll be your host, Justin Tannenbaum. And on today's episode, we have Lukasz Chmielewski, my co-founder and CTO of AppStream Studio. Welcome, Lukasz.
Hi, hello, and thanks for having me.
Of course. Super excited to kick this content journey off with you. I think we're going to do a weekly content series around change management, agents, AI, enterprise software development, and all things Azure, Microsoft, kind of the worlds we play in. From advisory to design to implementation and everything in between. We'll be meeting with leaders across hopefully the US, starting here with my own network and discussing, all things product development, innovation, and software. So super, super excited. Well, let's jump in. Lukasz, tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your career, maybe from the early days to where you are today. And we'll dive into how we met, how we got to know each other, and why two guys from halfway across the world became business partners, dare I say, best friends, and are now leading one of the top generative AI companies in Tennessee and have launched our own successful AI agents for clients and in our own product. Yeah.
Yeah, so where to start? Okay, so I think I started 18 years ago. It was during my university years. I started with Deloitte. I was working there for a year or something. And then there was I jumped from industry to industry, from electrical, Schneider Electric, to some Oscar nominated graphics agencies. At some point, I moved to UK, to Cambridge. I worked there as a senior developer for a year or something. And I moved back to Poland to work as a tech lead for a small Warsaw company. With the partner there, after working for 2 years, we co-founded a fintech company. It was called BankUp. And yeah, it was open finance, open banking platform, and we were acquired in 2020, I think. And then I started some project work because I left there after some time because of some corporate stuff. Let's say it this way. Yeah, and then we've met basically, right? That was the moment when we started our first project together on opposite sides, let's say, at that time. You're on the client side, I was on the contractor side. Yeah, that's how it started. I think we recently talked about it, and it was, I think, 4 years ago we had another anniversary of our first project together, right?
Yeah, that's absolutely right. And it's been four lovely years as business partners and friends. And I'll never forget the first time we actually physically met in person. We did a company retreat and flew everyone over to Warsaw for the week. And I think after a long 12-hour journey for myself, I think we met for breakfast. And it was
Yeah,
kind of surreal, right? Of basically 3.5 years of working together through
yeah,
Zoom,
exactly.
Teams, Slack, to actually like physically shake your hand. And
Yeah, it
I think
was
I gave you,
like all the time I was waiting for the frame to see in the frame, and it was none. So yeah, it was very surreal experience, I would say. But yeah, well, apparently post COVID you can make friends, actual friends, and yeah. So it was a surprise, like in a physical, let's say, terms. But in general, the discussion was the same. The conversation was flowing, and yeah, the, it was simple and easy. I would say, right?
the intellectual debate was high.
Yeah, the sometimes hot with especially with Bartek.
That's right. That's right. So much about your journey, it resonates with me, and not just like from where we met, but really your bank app story. I'd love to kind of like dive in there and learn more and hear kind of your point of view. Like, what was the unique insight that you and your co-founder at the time, kind of gave you the idea to build an open banking platform to service? I think you guys had 25% of EU banks were on your platform. You were there from idea to exit. Walk me through some of that.
Yeah, it started as a neo-digital bank. Well, we wanted to build a bank because at that time, I think we were flying with Krzysztof, my partner back then. We were flying to London, and I read online that there is this Solaris bank. So it was the first bank as an API. So it just opened up. So they offered their API, so anyone could be a bank. Well, no, of course not. Everyone there, you had to have an agreement and so on, but you could be a bank without this whole banking license. So that was the premise. So we decided, yeah, we have a lot of ideas about how the actual SME banking should look like. So let's work with them because without them, we would never be able to get like, the license. We have to have like millions of dollars and so on to obtain that. So we talked to them. We signed the contract and we started to work as a SME banking platform in a way. But we got our first huge client, like biggest Polish bank. We were a white label solution. But after that, Belgian bank came and they said, "Oh, there is this open banking new initiative in Europe that every bank will have to provide API. So we need something for that. We know you. Could you?" So yeah, we said that. Yeah, well, we could. So they were our first customer, but then it grew. They had like branches in every European country. So they wanted it. It was separate banks, but like with under one umbrella. So they wanted to be served. Then like another Polish bank came. Like I think we served three out of top five Polish banks, plus some London banks, Hungary. Yeah, it was all over the place. So yeah, it was like 15 to 20 banks at some point. So we had a fair share of the market, but then there was a point that we decided that okay, Mastercard and big names coming in. So yeah, it's time to consolidate. So it's a you know the story. So if the big guys come in, either they buy you or you might disappear because you don't have hundreds of millions to just flush. So yeah, we talked to one of the Belgian big institutions. They called themselves startup, but they had like over 1,000 employees, and they were on the so it was not really a startup, like quite a big company. And yeah, at first they were a customer. Then they said, yeah, we want you, but we don't want to share you. So what do you think about it? And we said yes. So
Hmm.
that
And
that, that
what was the due diligence process like? What you share about there? From what you can share about that, what was the due diligence process like? What was it like going through that? Doesn't sound like you put together like your traditional data room and got a bunch of bidders to compete against each other.
No. Well, there was a data room. We had to put a lot of documents there, like compliance stuff and everything. But it was COVID. Like
Hmm.
we flew to Belgium to their headquarters, and we had like our first conversation with them. And they said they love us and they would like to proceed. 3 days later, it was a total lockdown. You couldn't, if it was 3 days later, we couldn't get back to Poland. So it was basically that. And yeah, so it started to slow down. And yeah, we were like, okay, we're just waiting for the being acquired, but it was month after month. At some point, their CEO got COVID. It was serious back then because at the beginning of all of it. So it like a year. It took a year, and it was supposed to be 3 4 months, and it was over
Wow.
a year. And yeah, and then they went public, and so to get funds, and they bought us. So,
Wow.
but
What did
it was challenging.
when you and your co-founder signed the paperwork and the wire had hit your bank account, how did you celebrate and did you buy anything cool or did you do anything? Or how did you celebrate?
I think it was kind of surreal that from like I had like 1,000 zlotys on my bank account, and suddenly the transfer that I couldn't imagine it's possible that with the one transfer you can send the money. But yeah, we got part of it like in the actual money transfer, part of it in shares of the company going public. So I probably still have some of the shares, like I don't know, 1,000 euros in those shares. So it's there. Like the funny story is that the company's name was named Unified Post Group, and yeah, and our company was called BankUp, but they loved the name. So I think like 3 months ago, the shares on my brokerage account changed from Unified Post to Bankup. So now the name I came up with like 6, 7 years ago, it's like
Wow,
they renamed the whole group after that. So maybe they bought us for the name. Who knows?
that's amazing. Absolutely amazing. And the product's still around today, yeah?
Yeah. Of course, the team is there. Uh, it was we were like 30 people. I think like 25 of them are there. Some, of course, there were some consolidation, some effects of scale. So they had to make some changes, but most of the team there is still there, except few a few exceptions, let's say.
Yeah. I think we've, I guess while we're laughing, I think we took some of our favorite, and a lot of our employees that work now at the studio with us on AppStream and or Ivantic are from Unified Post or from Bank App.
That's the way of life, right? I had like my people there for like 10 years. I groomed them. I work with them. We formed a bond. So yeah, they wanted to work with me. I wanted to work with them. So we made
That's
it
right.
happen.
That's right. And now we all get to build, generative AI applications together on behalf of our clients and get to change the world on this next go around. So from idea to due diligence to exit to seeing, the shares and money hit your bank account. I guess it's kind of like slightly thereafter, maybe what, 6 months, 8 months later, you and I meet, right?
Yeah, something like that, because I wasn't planning to quit after the exit. I wanted to build with them as a partner. But unfortunately, there are some things like, procedurals, some decisions I couldn't agree with, and it was like a big corporation. So I couldn't have an influence I'd like to have. And there were some frictions. Yeah, a few months later, I was like, yeah, sorry. Of course, it took me like 6 months to actually quit. I gave him like every month I will remove one day from a week. So last last month it was one day a week, and so on. Just to because I like the guys, I wanted the product to succeed, so I didn't just want to disappear.
That's right. No, that's right. That's amazing. So let's transition into like your and I's relationship and how two guys from across the world, one in Nashville, Tennessee, the other in Warsaw, Poland, come to be, equal business partners and, have now co-own and co-manage the number one generative AI application studio in, I dare I say, in the Southeast. Maybe we jump into kind of our story. Shout out Kyle Stoner and the Unreal Estate team, which was, I think, the project that brought you and I together. And I think, I was leading product there. You were an architect, consultant brought in, and together, we revamped and rebuilt the nation's leading flat fee MLS platform. Basically, all through 2020 and 2021 for the most part. And we had a great team, and we recruited a great team together. I think at some point you and I had become really great work friends and just good friends, and realized that, together, my product skill set, product marketing skill set, your technical uh, mind from architecture to, distributed systems, that, we could probably build just about anything in the world. And, I think kind of from that to, it was me, you, and Peter, right? We kind of had like a
Yeah.
secret meeting of the minds, or like, hey, like we should do something, we should work together. And I think I'll never forget it. I don't think I have the recording, but I think the three of us hopped on a Zoom call, and like we went around the room and we're like, hey, do you have a product idea? Do you have a product idea? Is there anything you're super interested about? Is like, do you want to build something? And we all just kind of like shrugged our shoulders, and no one had like a good product idea or passionate or validated idea to go and build. And we kind of just looked at each other, well, services it is. And from that moment, kind of set into motion like AppStream being born. And I think our original insight and kind of our original idea, which still holds a little bit true today, was we didn't feel like, there's tons of service companies out there's tons of software development studios, software development dev shops, whatever you want to call them, right? Kind of, we wanted to do things differently. I know you mentioned you spent time at Deloitte. You were a former consultant. You were a consultant when you worked with me, right? I've been a consultant but we had this mutual kind of frustration with in the IT and application development realm of, consulting is mostly done on time and materials. Like, is there a better way? Is there a better pricing model
Hmm.
that aligns the incentives, right? And I'm a huge Charlie Munger fanboy and like just really respect what he does and his investment philosophy. So taking his quote of "show me the incentives and I'll tell you the outcome," that at the time I thought was a very strong conviction in it has to be a better way to provide software development services than time and materials, right? And we were like the anti agency of time and materials billing, right? We planted our flag as being like this weekly, turned into monthly, like flat fee development as a service. You get a true Scrum team from architect down to QA and everything in between, and we'll help you build, manage, implement, integrate your product, whether it's from APIs down to distributed systems, down to mobile applications, web applications. We really hammered that home, and I think when we launched, probably was the worst IT market in like the history of software development. But we survived and really started to find our footing. And I think you and I were just talking last 2 weeks ago. We were doing our Q3 review, and we've grown the studio from 3 people to now, there's 14 of us, and we're looking to possibly double again next year. But we've basically, in our first year of business, we did X. The second year of business, we did 12 times X. And then this past year, we've grown again 3 times. And, so basically almost like 36X from our original, first year in business to where we are today. And we can see ourselves doubling based on our current pipeline next year. Kind of surreal to like think about that, and like when we take a step
True.
back. But going back to those early days of just me, you, and Peter, what were you thinking? There had to be moments of like, is this real? Can I actually trust a guy halfway around the world? What are we doing here? Like,
It was like, despite maybe some different continents, difference in culture, well, although it's not that different, but still there are some differences. So even talking over some chats and so on, there was also like, how would he understand what I'm saying? Like, in a way, wouldn't he misunderstand me or something? I was discussing with Camila even, like, do you think it's clear for someone with a different cultural background? Now it's non-issue, but back then, at first, it was, you didn't know what you didn't know, right? So
that's right.
it was. But just commenting on our approach you described to offering services, I would say that I know that we cannot always do the stuff the way we want. So like offer the full team to provide the services and to build actual products. But the closer we get to our ideal model, I think it's the better. But one, as you said, incentives, and if both you and the customer want to build something great and you have a shared goal, that's always good. But the other thing is that I was recruiting a lot recently. At least 2, 3 people were asking me, do you outsource people? Do you just give people to the customer? Like, mm, for that, and I could firmly say no. We offer teams, not people. So you will be always part of the team that will have a common goal, and you will be building something, right? It's important not only for the client to be aligned, but also the team members to be aligned in the goal and so on, right? So it's also a comfort for employees to for our team members, our friends to be able to work in a team. Like, it's a team effort. It's not just you do that, I do that.
No, that's right. It's a great point about aligning incentives, right? It's not just about billable hours, right? It's not about the traditional consulting where everything's kind of a black box and only me, the consultant, knows how to make it work, or the system's super complicated because I designed it that way so I can continue to hit billable hours against some budget, right? Like, how can we truly align a product development team with business outcomes, right? At the end of the day, product development teams are and should be aligned to solving a business problem, right? It's not the cart, it's not the horse driving the cart, but rather the cart driving the horses. And the product development team being the horses in this case. Um, and I think I always preach to the teams every week is And I guess it's kind of Elon Musky to like to use it, but his famous quote, like, "What did you do this week?" Like I always preach, and I'm always asking, like, what value did you ship to either the client stakeholders, to their users, or to the business? And I'm a big believer in it, and I pound this drum every week. If you ship value every week, that everything else will take care of itself, right? And if we can align our success, with shipping value in the form of iterative software cycles and releases, everything else will take care of itself. So it's a really good point you make about like the differences between, we're not just a staff aug body shop, leasing and staffing people on projects. We're kind of very contrarian to that, right? Anti time and materials, anti just one off stuff. We truly want to be a partner and provide the people, the systems, and the process to take you from 0 to 1 or 1 to 3, right? A lot of our clients today are lower middle market, private equity backed companies that are coming to us for advisory work, either on generative AI, or hey, we have this legacy large enterprise application. How should we start thinking about modernizing it? Or hey, we want to move from AWS to Azure to take advantage of all of the new Azure AI services. Well, help us, right? Or I guess candidly, there's also a little bit of like, hey, we need to lower our capex or some opex expenses. Like, can you also assist us there with talented teams, like either nearshore or offshore? And the answer is yes, right? Like we can do all those things. But at the end of the day, providing value, shipping value, really like leaning into, I'll use a buzzword, digital value creation for our clients and their businesses is really kind of what we're all about.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Yeah, my recent years background is in startups, right? So I build a product, and I don't have the mentality to just provide service for the service and so on, right? I think it's now I thought about it. It's similar to my dad. He was running a car parts shop for 25, 30 years. Now he decided it's time to just say goodbye. It was too much hassle, too much after 30 years. But he started working as a car mechanic supervisor at one company, but he cannot be an employee. He knows how to be an owner, right? So he takes care of everything because, well, so since he started, I think the CEO of the company is barely there because he knows that my dad is basically running the place because he's worrying about everything, taking care of compliance, controlling, and everything, because he doesn't know how to just do his part. If he can propose a better way or something, he does it because and with us it's similar. We not only serve our customers, they give us tickets and we just check them. We propose other ways. We sometimes say no, it doesn't make sense to do it this way. We start to know the domains of our customers and we try to help them, not only, as you know, right, we not only serve them in a way that we do this and that, but we actually try to also be proactive and suggest improvements, right? And I think that's all about it only can be fun if you treat it as a, in a way, your product. You build it and
Mm.
you try to improve it and build on top of it. Then it's challenging, then it's interesting, not just
Yeah,
services.
that's that's a really good point. I think that's like one of the things I'm most proud of is we've done a great job of our team building our team and culture where there's extreme ownership. Even though the IP is not technically ours, even though we are like a service, like we our teams work on behalf of our clients. Every single one of our engineers like has extreme ownership over what they've built in the product and want to serve that business to the nth degree. And I think I'm really proud of that. But I think I can really hammer that point home. Is I got a call last week from a CIO, and he was a former client of ours. He's in a new role, and we were just calling to catch up. And he mentioned, he was like, "Man, the new company that I inherited with is like they're just order takers. Like whatever we ask, they just do." And like that's fine, right? He's like, but I miss the spirited debate. I miss the ownership. I miss the pushback, like the respectful pushback that you and your team gave, right? And he said a really funny metaphor analogy. He was like, if I told them to install a bathroom in the middle of the living room, they would do it. because that's what they were asked to do. He's like, and if I, gave that instruction to you guys, you'd be like, why do you want a bathroom in the middle of the living room? It doesn't make sense for there to be a bathroom in the center of our living room. Maybe we should put it over to the side. Maybe we should like understand how the plumbing in the house currently works before we just go and drill a big hole in the middle of the living room, right? Um, Not to say that we're antagonistic, but like we are not just order takers, right? We're going to bring all of our years of experience and our team's experience and lean on it to like really question why to the, ultimately serve and build the best product and deliver value to, end users or business stakeholders that we can, and not just like take orders because someone said so, right? We're going to ask, right? I think I tell all of our product people, like, start with the 5 whys. Ask why 5 times. Why does a bathroom need to be in the living room? Why do you want it there? Are you sure you just don't want a catheter like instead, right? To like, kind of hit the gross analogy home, but something I think I'm most proud of, and it's clearly resonated and left a lasting impression, at least with this CIO, that like I'm really proud of, what we do.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. It's not. It's We could do something the way they want it, then redo it and redo it, earn more money, but that's not the point, right?
That's right. No,
It's
that's
not
right. That's
our
right.
way.
I'm gonna change topics on you since we've talked a little bit about your career, a little bit about you, your exit, the founding of AppStream, into now kind of we'll call it like AppStream 3.0, like where you and I are taking the studio, and I'm super excited to announce our upcoming rebrand and the work we're doing and some of the new positioning work as we look to grow and scale into the new year. But also because we are finding success in our own product that we've launched out of the studio, and Ivantic. Maybe I can get like a little hot take, or I can get a take on your thoughts on generative AI. Right? I think it's all anyone can talk about. It's literally changes every day. It's like every headline, from the financial markets to the tech, to I mean even us here, like how we're using AI to become more productive, leveling up, our team, shipping code faster, even using AI, and maybe kind of get your thoughts on AI, how we're using it at the studio, and maybe a prediction from you for 2026, where you think AI X developer experience is going.
Broad topic. Well, as you know, we started using more and more AI in our day-to-day work. I'm talking from the perspective of a software developer, so we're using different either codecs or cloud code or other tools, whatever someone prefers. But yeah, so we are learning it because sometimes in simple tasks it can do amazing. Like if you want to add an endpoint and add some small feature or refactor a huge amount of code but in a simple way, then it saves you a lot of time. But on the other hand, if you want to do something more complex, you have to explain what you actually want very carefully. Plus you have to give guidance, like a very strict guidelines, not to break anything. So you have to tell, don't change API until you specifically ask. Don't change that until you specifically ask. And you have to have those guidelines like always. So there's agents MD files and so on. So there are different ways to do that. Our perfect world, we would like to have every module of our product described in a way and in the form accessible to the AI. So then I can change the specification and see the change in real life. So in my case, in code. But of course, it has some challenges too. For me, the biggest, so it would be amazing to do it this way, but it's something we have to test. With every generation of models, the quality changes, usually for the better, but sometimes, sometimes there are some hiccups, as always. But the biggest challenge for me, I think, will be to mentor, to train new developers, because now we are at the time that we have a lot of developers that was raised, that was mentored, that was taught without AI. So they have strong foundation. They know how to do stuff. They know how to find out things. They see the code generated by AI and they can say it's ugly, it's not maintainable, and so on. So the question is how to teach the new ones that just joined the market and they know Claude AI or Codex right from the start. why would we tell them, oh, be slower and do it without AI? Because in 5 years, you will be a great developer and then you will use AI. It doesn't make much sense. So it's a very tricky thing how to mentor those, especially as what is maintainable code? It's code easy to maintain by the human, right? But what is maintainable code for AI? It's not necessarily the same quality. It's not the same things you should look at it, because for AI, maybe ugly code from user's perspective, the same function written 10 times, it's easy to maintain because you just rewrite the same function 10 times and so on. So basically, all the clean code, smart code, and KISS, keep it simple, all the best patterns, best practices, maybe we will have to throw them away and just learn how to build maintainable code for AI, not for human, because there are a lot of questions. And I don't have too many answers, but these are the things I often discuss with Piotrek, how to look at people, developers learning AI, and how to look at code. Is it nice code? For me, it's beautiful, but it's very difficult to maintain by AI. So, you know, maybe there
Mm.
will be like generated code by AI and some craft developers that can create beautiful code, but it will be niche for some specific use cases. I don't know, but it's very interesting and I enjoy watching what happens next.
Larry, look into your crystal ball. Your Nostradamus here. Look into your crystal ball. Where will generative AI in software engineering be in 5 years?
Well, I think cost optimization is the king. So probably if it will be achievable to write specification of the product you want in the code, then next step, the last step will be code generated by AI. And then if a product owner without any team wants to, okay, I want this feature to be added, he writes it in the first one, and then magically it will appear in the code. So developers will maybe tweak something, but maybe they won't be needed at all to make it happen. As long as it does what it should do and the tests are there, maybe that's enough. I don't know. Maybe it won't be in 5 years, but there are like a lot of legacy systems and so on. But eventually, that might be the case that developers will be building tools to better use AI, but AI will build the tools used by users.
Yeah, it's a really good point. I'm going to put one caveat and one disclaimer. A lot of our clients are in regulated markets, right? We do a lot of work in healthcare. We do a lot of work in some government entities, and you know, have high security standards and high regulations against them. Definitely be careful about what AIs your product team or generative AI team is using and how they're using it. Um,
Yeah, that's a great point. So this is one point, and the second one, responsibility. If there is a problem, there is a leak, there is something, who's responsible? If AI wrote it, there is no one to, to take ownership of the problem, right? So
that's right.
that's also the other thing. If it's highly regulated and then, for example, I don't know, banking, and the money goes somewhere else, who to blame, right? Who to fix?
It wasn't me. It was my AI engineer
Yeah, yeah,
who slipped up the routing number to my piggy bank. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Go, go to Sam, go to OpenAI. They wrote the model, so sorry.
That's right. That's right. There's also a notion of like you're actually making the model provider smarter, right? You're actually anything you're training on or uploading to that is actually beneficial to the model provider and not you, despite what they claim or what they say, what
Yeah,
their paid
one thing
versions,
it
right?
makes, yeah, they profit from it. The other, you never know if there is a leak. So if you provide some information, it can cross contaminate. Well, you never know, right? It's just closed a black box for us. So
That's right. Well, this is Lukasz. I think this is an amazing inaugural episode 1, season 1 of Agents of Change, with me, Justin Tannenbaum, and my first guest, my partner in crime, the co-founder and CTO of AppStream Studio and Ivantic, Lukasz Chmielewski. And if anyone wanted to that does listen to this wants to follow you or find you, where can they find you online?
LinkedIn, probably these are the places where I would be visible business wise, right?
That's awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, and have a lovely rest of your day. Talk to you later.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Bye, guys.